Hello, everybody. Does this look familiar? A foot. That is a foot. And in case you're not familiar with feet, this is my beautiful assistant, Wesley. She's going to be helping me out today. We don't need your foot quite yet, but we're going to need it in a minute. If you're not really familiar with your feet and loving to use your feet these days, you want to get familiar with your feet. So we're going to talk about why that's so important and kind of dispel a couple of myths. We're going to do this quickly. Promise. So why do we need to get to know our feet, and why is it really good idea to use your feet when you're applying essential oils? One of the most important reasons is that you're going to get really good absorption through your feet. Now, it's not so important to be so correct about why the absorption is so quick through the feet, but we just want to make sure that we're not telling people things that are very obviously not the case. And so one of the things that has been really largely spread throughout the essential oil community is that the pores of the feet are large and that there are many pores on the bottoms of your feet, and that's why when you apply essential oils to your feet, you're going to get great absorption to the rest of your body. That's actually not true. The reason that you are going to get good absorption through your feet do have pores, okay? They're not especially huge, but there are a lot of pores on the bottom of your feet, but the reason is for sweat. So the pores are actually there to release sweat out, not to allow things in. The way that you absorb the essential oils through your feet is through the actual skin and through the layers of the skin. So it's just important not to say something once you know. I've said that before too, so it's not like a really big deal. It's not a huge deal if you've said that before. Just say what's accurate is that you have better absorption through your feet because your feet have less layers of skin. So you have 7 to 10 layers of skin on various areas or in various areas of your body. And on the bottoms of your feet, there are about 5. So you have less layers of skin on the bottoms of your feet. They are thicker though. The skin on your feet is thicker. So you kind of have to, that's kind of a wash. You've got to get through this thicker skin. Yes, there are less layers of it, but it's thicker. So why is it that you have better absorption to the bottoms of your feet? The reason really has to do with sebaceous glands. So sebaceous glands are what release oils. And we have sebaceous glands through every area of our skin except, stay there, I'm going to use you in just a second, except the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. So the only areas that you don't have these sebaceous glands are the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Those sebaceous glands can make it difficult for the oils to absorb past the layers of your skin. And where do we want the oils to get? We want the oils to get into our bloodstream. So those sebaceous glands can sometimes act as an impedance. When you don't have any sebaceous glands, no fat glands in the bottoms of your feet or oily glands, all you have to do are apply the oils. They're going to get through the layers of the skin and into the bloodstream, which is where we want them to get. So that's one big thing that I want to, and hey, by the way, guys, if you're watching and you would like a kind of a cap or a summary of what I'm teaching today, in the comments say learn with Jess, learn with Jess. And if you comment learn with Jess, I will send you just a quick cliff notes of today's lesson, okay? So just remember that. So anyway, you want to have the absorption through the skin. Doesn't have really to do with the pores. The less layers of skin, even though they're thicker, are going to allow your essential oils to absorb into the bloodstream, which is where you want it. The other really cool thing, and we know there's no hair on the bottoms of the feet. Sometimes people say there's no hair and then the pores are bigger. It's not so much that. It mostly has to do with those sebaceous glands. And it mostly has to do with the fact that it's going to be less layers to get through. So that's really cool. Your feet are less sensitive in general. A lot of times people have sensitive skin on some areas of their body, and so they apply the oils and they, you know, it burns or it's intense. The feet are much less sensitive when it comes to that. And so you can apply oils that are maybe, you know, I can easily apply oregano to the bottoms of Wesley's feet and there's no problem. If I try putting oregano on her arm, there's going to be a problem. So that's another nice thing about applying to the bottoms of the feet.
When I had UTI, you had
Yes.
oregano on.
Yes, oregano and lemongrass are they can be very intense and irritating to the skin, which we learned one time when Wesley had an issue. But we're not talking about specific diseases or issues or symptoms on this channel. So anyway, the other thing that we wanted to talk about is that when you use your feet, you're going to engage another really cool thing, which is your nervous system. So if any of you guys have seen this chart, there's a book called Modern Essentials, and it has this chart. It shows the reflex points of the feet. It also, on the other side, will show the hands. So again, remember, hands and feet don't have sebaceous glands. And there are neural pathways which people who are familiar, you're going to need to sit up there, and it's not distracting when you're still. People who are familiar with neuroconnective pathways and reflexology are already kind of versed in this. But if you're not, you can get a quick lesson on what reflex points are where. But a really easy thing to do also is just to apply the oil to the whole foot. You're going to get it covered. If you just apply the oil to the whole foot, you're good. Now go ahead and sit up here because now we're going to demonstrate what I like to do. The second thing I wanted to talk about is layering. So why layer? One reason that you want to layer, we talk about a lot of times applying the oils and blending them and making roller balls, which is very convenient. It's fun. You can make great sense with doing that. But the thing that you really want to remember is if you have the time, layering is a really, really good idea. Because what happens when you layer is each oil gets its turn to interface with the body. So a lot of people are using a certain protocol of oils. Right now they're using frankincense, oregano, on guard, lemon, and tea tree. And they're using those oils and they're blending them. If you haven't ever tried layering them and you're at home and have the time to do it, trust me, try it out, do one at a time, allow 15 to 30 seconds in between each oil. You will be amazed at the difference your body experiences when it's able to assimilate or interface with each oil in its turn. It's incredible. There's a reason for that. So with her, what I like to do, Wesley a lot of times will have itchy, red eyes. She'll have sneezing. You know, in the mornings, there's a lot of pollen in the air and that just messes with her. So the first thing I do in the morning with her is we just put some coconut oil to just kind of get the foot primed and ready, because if I don't do that and I put the oil on and her foot's dry, it's going to just stay in one spot. I want to make sure and get her whole foot, right? So then, a lot of you have seen a video that I did about layering, and I talked about how using peppermint or deep blue first is really good because it's a vasodilator. And what happens is it brings those capillaries up to the surface, allowing the next oil that you put in to kind of be grabbed and taken into the system. I'm going to show you something else. I use lemon first. So the first thing I put is lemon. Again, I'm doing the whole foot. You can't go wrong if you do the whole foot. If I really wanted to focus on her lung, I would go here because that's the lung point. And I just put a little bit of pressure there for a second or two. But I'm going to do her whole foot. This is quick. The second one, lavender. Lavender is next. Same thing. I try to do about 15 seconds in between. So lavender. I don't think I did 15 seconds between the lemon and the lavender, but just for sake of time, pretend like we did 15 seconds. And then finally, this time I'm using peppermint last. What happens with peppermint is it can also be like a driver. So when you apply a lot of you are familiar with certain protocols that use oils that are vasodilators or stimulating oils last, because they act like a driver to then drive in the rest of the oils. The way it works is Same thing, vasodilator brings the capillaries up to the surface, and now when I put this peppermint, it's giving the instruction, okay, capillaries, do your thing. I brought you up to the surface. Now I'm going to seal it with coconut oil at the end. And now I've just sealed that whole process. Now that whole protocol, the lemon, the lavender, and the peppermint are going to be driven in, and she's going to get results within a minute. Usually in the morning, if she has congestion or she's stuffy and we do this, she's draining within like 5 minutes. She's blowing her nose, she's feeling great. Those first morning symptoms are all nice and cleared away.
We usually do this before school.
Yep, and so that is a really good thing to remember. Layering works. Layering is a great idea if you have time for it. The order doesn't matter so much. You don't have to get caught up in the order. Which one do I do first? Why do I do this one last? As long as you're giving each one its turn to interface, and you remember that oils like peppermint are really good to do at the end to drive in whatever protocol you used. And also, if you're doing it for some discomfort, some aches, it is good to apply the peppermint at the beginning so that you can open up those capillaries and then put the lemongrass on second so that it can bring that lemongrass in. So you can also do beginning and end for your vasodilator. There's really not a way to mess it up. It's just layer. Use layering, use the bottoms of your feet, and understand why. It's not so much knowing so that we can be right and we can correct people. It's knowing how this works so that you can understand how this best will help you to get the most out of your essential oils. We hope you have a great day, guys.
Bye.